Everybody. We are about to start episode 2. We hope there will be many more to come. There certainly will be for Sam and me, where we share our weekly perfectionism check-in with you all in order to directly help ourselves and indirectly provide some techniques and insights to hopefully help you either with your own personal development or in your practice with others. Sam.
Do you know, I'm just going to take a breath just to really get really present from being, rushing. Yeah. So how's your week been, George?
So this is, of course, an accountability check-in as well. We had some actions, as we always do. Last week, the day after our conversation, we had a family meal over some fresh piri-piri grilled chicken. Delicious, and made it much more comfortable for me to open the subject. And I shared with the family that I have something important to discuss, which was effective at getting everyone's attention. And then said, for the last few days, I've gradually pulled back more and more to not do everything anymore and just run around like a madman. Then I caught myself saying, but now after a few days of doing that, now I'm concerned that I'm no longer doing enough to contribute to the household. And they completely dismissed it out of hand and said, no, we're good. And I continued eating. So what are we going to do today? And I had prepared in my mind for that conversation. I caught myself thinking about it every morning, how I'm going to phrase it, what's going to happen, if they respond this way, what I'm going to reply. And I tried to catch myself. And so I cannot possibly predict how the conversation is going to go. Just let it go, George. You're with family. There is love. It's fine. It's going to be okay. But I still caught myself several times mentally rehearsing for the conversation. And then all that happened was, no, it's good. Thanks. And carry on eating. Basically, everyone munched the chicken. And that was it. So a part of me was disappointed because I expected more. And a part of me, the biggest part of me was just completely relieved. But then afterwards, since then, I've been thinking, well, the way that I ended up phrasing it, although I had prepared different phrasing beforehand, whether I'm still doing enough, it's just so typical, right? No matter how much I push myself, there's always the question, is it enough?
Yeah.
So I've been contemplating a lot about that over the course of this week. But before we go into what kept coming up for me and what I'm going to bring new into today's conversation, let's turn it over to you. How did your week go? How did your action go?
Yeah, well, before I share mine, can I just reflect back at you what I heard what you said? So I heard that you took a really brave step by speaking to your family about your feelings, that it was a really big deal. And that it was a complete anticlimax because whatever nervousness you had, it just didn't play out. And they were like, oh, cool, fine. And then you found yourself having a choice of just repeating the habitual thought, I'm not doing enough, even though they'd told you, yeah, we're fine. Is that what you said?
Well, I got conscious about the way that I phrased it with the enough, and the enough pattern wasn't really triggered, but it just reminded me that it's omnipresent, and although I've done a lot of work on it, it's just still so strong and so much there. But in terms of then the continuous change of the overwork and over contribution to the family system. Over the course of the last week, I've pulled back more and more, and one of my therapists at one point made it very clear that, you know, when you are in good relationship, don't pursue tallies, don't keep track of who does what, right? Because over your lifetime of a committed, is it a family relationship, or, you know, romantic relationship, or really strong friendship, it will even out. And so it's I'll bring that back when we get to the new stuff.
Sorry, I won't deflect from that. So
what about you?
My action was to explore about taking rest, which I feel was a bit cheeky, because I feel like that has been an action that I've been exploring over perhaps a year. But what you shared was really helpful, and I noticed a really interesting pattern happening over the course of this past week, because there's a lot going on for me right now. I'm going fully freelance. I've got my lovely mum-in-law staying with me. There's like what's going on with my husband's business and stuff is like really awesome, but like lots of family stuff. And so a way that I deal with stress is actually to do stuff, to be effective, like to be productive and to do stuff and feel valuable. And so actually it was like ninja hard to take rest. But it's also been really, really valuable, because just like you're saying, like some of these patterns are quite heavily ingrained. And so I noticed that like the way I build my schedule is nuts. Like I can't get up and do a dawn ritual sunrise practice, work a full day of 3 different jobs, and go to bed at 11 p.m. and not expect to be exhausted. Because 11 p.m. till 4:30 a.m. is not long enough. So I have been strategically taking rest, but sort of having to balance a bit of this demon of guilt that I should be doing other things. And it's interesting how it's changed, because at other times it's been, oh, my to-do list, I should be doing this to-do list stuff. But I've kind of worked through some of my demon of workaholism, much like you were just talking about with family stuff, like not taking tally of relationship. I just started to stop doing things until someone complained that I wasn't doing enough, and it never actually happened. And I managed to stop doing about 60% of what I do, and no one noticed. But this time the guilt was around, that I should be doing family stuff. I'm not spending quality time with family members, and that's what I should be doing instead of taking a little nap. And, you know, taking this time to meditate, I also noticed this funny little dynamic, which I wonder how many of you might notice is...
it's just us here, Sam.
Yeah, what you might notice, right, is, so I'm sitting in meditation. I've been doing this a long time. So I can see the dance in my mind of like the neurotic part of my mind, chatter. But I can watch it and I can start to disengage and get into the zone. But then I noticed, like I was just telling you in the break, I noticed my fingers had started doing that. And what I really realized is that when we're caught up in our mind, like when I'm caught up in my mind of I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I just become very physically disconnected, and I actually don't know how I am, you know. And so I like how an outcome of this slowing down, of this being very observant, of slowing, you know, taking strategic rests, has helped me realize, how am I really? Like, not how is the story that I've told myself about how I am. Like, I do these practices so I show up and I be my best. It's like, oh, actually, I've got this nervous tick going on. I need to take care of myself. Self-care needs to check in where I actually need to understand what is agitating me. So not to like overrule it, not to squash it, but to what is actually bothering me. So that's been my practice really over this week.
Nice. And sleep, how many hours are you back to now?
I knew you were going to ask that. But George, it's just for 2 weeks, just until the new moon. Yeah, I've been working with a friend who's been trying to coach me into getting a minimum of 7.5 hours. And I'm struggling to get it above 6.
I can see the struggle in all of this going on. And what's the struggle? Is it okay to go on to that? So
yeah, it is. It's a combination of things. It's recognizing that my natural nature is, you know, like I burn a lot of nervous energy. And so when there's a lot going on and I get more nervous, there's more energy to burn. And so actually I find it harder to relax, which is where like my productivity kicks in. And then this thing of perfection where, you know, because I'm solo training this AIM class, first time of solo online facilitation, I've got 15 million windows, it feels like, of things to do. And I come with this belief that, because somehow perfectionism is intertwined with imposter syndrome for me. It's like, but I don't know it all. They probably all know more than me. And so I go on this mission to like deep dive into every possible topic. But because I'm aware of it, I can kind of catch it, and like I just check in with people. You probably saw in the enterprise chat I was asking about like what is a whole massive field of study of organisational change that I felt like I had to know within 3 days. That's why I struggle sometimes to sleep, because I'm this is going on. And being a good wife and a good friend and a good dog owner.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that I keep coming back to. What are the biological and physiological preconditions for you to be at your best, for your body and mind to be able to truly be at its best?
Yeah, I love this, and I've actually drawn it out because I recognize I have these moments of insight where I get complete clarity and then I forget. So I know you might notice that in my tagline I put London, centre of the universe, which is playfulness. So I recognize I really have to call in playfulness and curiosity. And absolutely, for me to deal with that nervous energy, I have to work out. So a negative pattern I notice is I get stressed, I start to work more, I get glued to the laptop, I stop moving, and then eventually I will just get sick. So for me, it is be playful, find playfulness, manifest playfulness. It is move. It is make time to eat and eat proper food, not just what is instantly available because I don't have time to cook. And it's about connecting with other people. And just like you did, like checking in with all these assumptions that I make about what standard I have to hit, because that almost every time the standard is never as high as I think it is. So for me, that's a real part for me being at my best. I just check in, what do I have to do to reach that standard?
And the one thing that hasn't come up in your list is sleep and rest.
Yeah. Yes. And it's the thing that I always forget about.
Yeah. So how do you know how much sleep you need? So your coach friend is coaching you to reach at least 7.5 hours. Is that based on experimentation? Or is it just based on global average of human sleep requirement?
No, it's based on that he thinks, based on everything that I'm doing, absolutely it should be 8 minimum, right? But I can't possibly, it's unattainable. And so I negotiated to 7.5.
Whatever floats your boat. And I recall that at the moment you're struggling to get beyond 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel the difference showing up in your day-to-day? The difference of 2.5 hours?
Well, what I really notice is that when I am rested, everything is so much easier. And so this dance that I've been kind of doing around not getting enough sleep, actually it's kind of tied to the more I'm able to connect into my body and to honor what my body needs, actually I can do with a little less sleep, because I think probably I'm okay with 7 hours sleep if I'm not getting energetically drained by my own faulty processes, right? Or doing things to prove myself. Yeah. These are things that drain me of energy, that make me exhausted, not really not getting enough sleep.
Right. You are incredibly clever in your negotiations, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy working with you, because my question was how the difference is showing up, and you answered that for sure. And then obviously the next question would be, well, so how are you going to get from 6 to higher up? And you negotiated down further from starting with the 8 with your coach friends to 7.5, and now with me from 7.5 to 7. You can negotiate yourself down with your sleep expectation or sleep goal. What do you make of that?
Well, just what's coming up for me, because I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and I said this because I so know it in my soul to be true, that when I go on holiday and how I truly get to be my best, like I sleep for 2 full days straight. You don't get anything out. Like seriously, I'm like a zombie for 2 days, and then I start to be annoying. And so truthfully, when I'm on holiday and I'm not working hard and, you know, I'm doing lots of stuff, whatever, having fun, like I do probably get 8 hours sleep, and I feel freaking amazing. I feel unstoppable.
Shocking. Yeah. So what are you going to do with this over the next week? I'm selfishly pivoting because I would like to also share something in our
call. Please. So I'm just sorry, I get so carried away when you start coaching me, and we need to stop this. Well, I'm gonna, oh God, because I know that I need to be honest, and I really see the conundrum. So I'm going to find some way to make a covenant that I cannot break. And I'm going to share it with you, George, if that's okay.
Go for it.
By the end of tonight. Is that okay? I'll WhatsApp you. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So come on, George, your turn.
My turn. So what I've noticed again and again, and in particular after this anticlimax delicious chicken eating lunch with the family, how insanely difficult it is for me to ask for help. So somehow in my mind, I have created the standard operating procedure that as long as I'm able to do something on my own, even if it requires huge exertion or contortionism and if I carry or unload or do physical things, as long as I'm even remotely able to figure out a way to do it on my own, I don't need anybody's help. ergo I don't ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, of course, not really a very good strategy. And what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm slightly at my wit's end, because the techniques that I've been trying aren't really that effective anymore. So the techniques basically got me to a point where I'm in a position now where there is no other way, then I'll ask for help. But that usually ends up with me being a lot more exerted, exhausted than I needed to be when other people could be very readily available and very willing and very happy to help. And something that you said another time when we spoke has really struck a chord, because helping each other is a vital part of forming deep relationships. So what I'm actually doing is sabotaging my relationships by not asking for help. I'm always incredibly eager to help others, but I'm very reluctant to ask others for help.
Mm.
So that's my conundrum that I'm bringing into our conversation today in the last few minutes.
Mm.
Help!
So what I'm recognizing is your need for, like what you want is connection. And I'm curious because I feel like words can so often get in the way. And two things just kind of jumped out at me: need help. Instead of need, what might better reflect what it is that you want? Let's park the word help for a second. But instead of I need help, I what?
I was so blind. I'm gonna answer your question very shortly. I just had some neurons exploding.
Yeah, what happened? Tell me.
So another drive that is subsumed by this overall label of perfectionism is this I'm okay, right? I'm always okay. Doesn't matter, I'll get through it. I'm okay. And the most powerful feedback that somebody gave me on my first professional coaching qualification was to simply tell me it's okay to not be okay sometimes. I remind myself of that a lot, but when you said the I need help, that basically implies that I'm not okay, and I cannot be okay, ergo I cannot need help.
Yeah. I forget what we call that in NLP, right? It's a complex equivalent. It's like you're making something equivalent when it isn't. So I wonder, instead of I need help, which in your head means I'm not okay, when what you want is I want more connection.
Yeah.
Like what could you say instead?
The first thing that comes to mind is, could you give me a hand with this?
How does that feel when you say it?
Almost doable.
What else could you say?
No, I mean, almost doable in the sense that I can overcome the almost part. So it's it's realistic to do and to adopt.
If you were to get playful with it, because there's not just like one alternative, maybe are there others? If you think about like the outcome you want, what are you actually asking for, or inviting, or encouraging, or
Well, I suppose in some cases it's actually about doing something together, accomplishing something together, sharing in the doing of a task. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, all sorts of options, right? So hey, do you have time to do this and that together?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And I don't feel any player come up, which is the technical term, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll try that. Okay. So good. That's going to be my thing for the week.
That, by the way, is amazing. And I wonder if you need to just write any of those down, while I could say to the group, have you got any questions that you want to
ask? Sounds good. I'll take a quick note and we'll open for questions.
Yeah, just to honor your process, because I don't know what you guys think, throwing it out to the audience, but that seemed really like super powerful. Because our self-talk, how we talk to ourselves, is so crucial. It enables us or it doesn't. Anyway, would you like to ask a verbal question? Would you like to type one in the chat, or would you like to be anonymous in the Slido? This is your time to ask whatever you want.
Sam, I've got a question for George, if that's okay. Just something you were talking about there, George, made me wonder if, because I totally get that, not being able to ask the question, not being able to ask for the help, but I'm wondering if you had a little bit of suppressed anger because you were having to deal with this all on your own, and you didn't want to share that either because the family and people you love. And that's just reflecting, or it resonated something in me where if I've got a bit of a suppressed emotion, I kind of don't want to share that because I love you dearly. But I've got this little bubble that's blocking me from actually saying, hey, can you just like pick your plate up, put it on the side?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. And actually, there was a time where I spotted resentment in myself for being the only one who wasn't sick when we went on a trip a few weeks. I don't know whether you caught the
Yeah, I was there last week.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah. And there was definitely resentment there that you know, if I got sick too, then I could take a break. So, but then on the other hand, I don't want to get sick, and then I'm stuck with all the extra work, and you know, so there was definitely resentment there. But that itself wasn't in the way of the help. The help issue is very old. Yeah, but I can see how that could be a contributing factor also in some cases.
So something I'll just add on to that really quickly is actually resentment is one of the indications that I notice. If I notice I start to feel resentful, I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm taking over. I'm running the show. I'm doing it all. So I ask myself, what is it that I need? So when I feel like a resentment or I feel any strong emotion, I ask myself, what is it that I need? And usually what I need, if I'm feeling resentment, is I need, well, it depends on the situation, right? But usually it's not so much about the, you know, like the lack of domestic help. You know, usually it's about, oh God, I need to have a hug and to feel like it's all right and to feel like you're in it with me, that you're partnering with me. You know, not that I'm having to do everything and I've put this all the shoulder, you know, it's all on my shoulders. So for me, I really like that as soon as I feel resentment, it makes me realize I'm doing it. Don't know if that helps. It's who's the non-violent communication guy, George? About needs. I've just blanked on his name.
Me too, Al.
Is it the guy who did Crucial Conversations?
No, it's like non-violent. Marshall Rosenberg. Look him up on YouTube. Marshall Rosenberg, non-violent communication. He talks about the giraffe and the jackal, and it's about how so, like in our language, yeah, we all skate over what we really need. So you can fall down that rabbit hole if you like.
Unless Sam, sorry, George.
Well, it's very much related to you, Al. We're just catching up on some of the messages you posted in the chat.
Sorry.
Yeah, and yeah, it's this conundrum, right? So if we look at coaching as a helping profession, we're always there to help others, and we sometimes that can lead us to believe that in order to help others, we have to be okay, and we have to be this like role model and shining example. But at the same time, we're people too, and we also need support, right? So, yeah.
Just something about what you shared, Al. I mean, fantastic statement. I totally get it. And just to say that what we're sharing a bit is our journey in doing these practices. Because this is the practicing of the preaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're sort of dropping the mask of what it's really like to be inside me, because I could talk a lot about, leadership development and consciousness growth and how we do all that stuff, but how we do it, like the actual mechanism, this is it. This is what it looks like.
What I meant by that, Sam, was that quite often we find ourselves in situations, and when we reflect on them, we think, well, with all the coaching that we do and all the education that we've got and the understanding we've got of how people behave and what we do, why the hell did we get in that situation? That's what I meant. It's like, it's easy to see in others, but sometimes hard to kind of remember. And your comment about resentment, my thought is, if you think of resentment as an emotion, it's a post emotion. Something would have happened for you to have resented it. So perhaps we need to think about the step before, like going back a little bit and thinking ahead if we can. I mean, hindsight's fantastic, isn't it? But if we can get into a frame where we can recognize signals earlier or see situations earlier, then we won't get ourselves into that state to be able to then resent it. Do you see what I mean? So I know it's turning what you're saying completely the other way around, but
no, 100%. I think that is the point, because what I would tell you is that the pattern in my family, right, is that frustration is the predominant emotion, like, and we show through worry, right, and that basically everyone second guesses each other because no one can talk about how they feel, and so everyone resents everyone all the time. So I've got on this real journey. I very rarely feel resentment, right? Because I catch it so much earlier. So that's what I mean when I feel it. I really know that I've fallen down the hole and I've put the whole world on my shoulders. It's like, oh, wow, I'm there. This is me. This is not to do with them. So exactly what you said, Al. Yeah.
It's a family trait. I think that every family has an element of competition and trust questions and things. When they come together in stress or as a problem, it's fine. They act as a family. But when they're living normal lives, they all seem to, I'm in one, and I have this kind of, exactly what you just said, driven by frustration, trust and question, and is there an ulterior motive? What do you really want? Jesus, just talk to me, It's, yeah. Not speaking for all families, I'm sure there's some good ones out there.
Yeah, well, family dynamics are a thing, aren't they? And it's interesting because so many of us, I think, work in the agile space, right? And so we know about sort of systems, and our family dynamics absolutely tend to play out because it's all our unresolved stuff. I like to think it's, like when you go into the top boardrooms and all of those dynamics, usually it's like everyone's 7-year-old or 5-year-old acting out, right?
Absolutely.
What else?
Do we have any more questions? What else is going on for you?
There's an interesting thing I wanted to say earlier when you're talking about it sounded like you're talking about flow. You're talking about slowing down. And there's a great analogy that I was given using some of the talks. It's about, when you want a fizzy drink quickly, like you're pouring Coke out of a bottle, do you get a full glass if you quickly pour it? Of course you don't. It just goes everywhere, right? You slow down, you get what you want. The better one was in the M25. Going around, I say M25 because London is the centre of the universe. So going around the M25, my head says if I do 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, I'm going to get around quicker. The science of it is, and anybody who drives gets this moment where you kind of stop in traffic and you think there's an accident, nothing happens, and you start moving again. Then you stop again. Then you start. That stop-start is the ripple effect of somebody at the front going too quick. So science has said, if you do 50 miles an hour, you'll get around quicker because you actually don't interrupt your flow. And the thought of that going around slower gives us an adage of like throttle to get pace. Yeah, slow down and you'll get there faster.
Yeah.
Sustainable pace.
Yeah.
It is.
And
it's unusual. It's sustainable.
And I love that. And I almost want to just acknowledge that what happens is like we know the theory, but we get trapped in a little loop. So I just love to share really quickly before we run out of time. It'll only take a minute, I promise. Just a technique that you can do, right, that we can all do, that some of you probably do already, but just in case you don't. As soon as we spot a pattern, whatever our pattern is, we all have the ability to breathe and we all have a body. And do you remember what I said about when I was in meditation and I suddenly noticed I was doing this? It's our body can tell us how we are when we've become so disconnected. So I just encourage you, like right now, everyone feels better if you take 3 deep breaths. So as soon as you notice a pattern, feel your feet on the floor. Feel your backside on the chair. Pull your head out, down into your belly. Immediately you feel better. You get more of because your mind, like all of your conscious awareness, it's in every single cell of your body. It's not just in your brain. And it's certainly not just in this neurotic part of the brain that's telling you you're not enough or that you need to do more. So I've just been really reminded through these dawn practices that I've been doing at sunrise, how the power of the breath, if all you do is breathe powerfully or remind yourself to actually breathe, because I bet you what's happening when you get triggered is you stop breathing.
I have, went away again. On the Apple Watch, you have the Breathe app. So I set it up to remind me several times a day to just take a breath. And sometimes I ignore it. So I increase the frequency of the reminder. So overall, I still do enough breathing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. So summary, Sam, what's going to be your action for the week?
Oh, my action for the week is to do this impossible thing. Like to come up with the unbreakable covenant of sleep. And I'm going to send it to you by the end of today. And then I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually do it.
Well, I'll check in with you in a week anyway, and then we'll see how it went. Very good. So
accountability, yeah. And
accountability loop continues. Yeah. And for me, I will invite people to do things together.
Yeah.
That I would have otherwise have done on my own.
Yeah.
Good. Very good. So thank you all very much for joining. We are at the planned finish time. I'm going to leave the call open, hang around for a little bit. If there are any of you who'd like to hang a little bit more and ask something after we're officially closing. And Sam has to go back to teaching a class because one cool thing a day is not enough. Has to be 2 cool things,
yeah,
at least. No, thank you very much for using your lunch break to continue our conversations, our weekly conversations, Sam.
Thank you. Feels important. So yeah. Thanks, and see you all guys. Great to see your faces.
Thank you all very much. Hope you have a great week and hope we see you again next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Good. And I'm going to close this.